Extended side angle is a fundamental standing pose. If people have tight hips and legs, this is a great pose to begin to balance the muscles from the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh and from the outside of the hip to the inside. Now again, the basic process of opening the hip requires that the outer hip, thigh, and lower leg are stronger than the inside, and that the quadricep is relatively stronger as compared to hamstring. And so in those poses, in this forward bending poses, we always want to activate those areas much more. Outer hip, thigh, lower leg, quadricep as compared to hamstrings. I want more sensation in the quadricep. To do that, if I take my left foot, now this is not a classical positioning of the feet as you would see in a book like Light on Yoga. It's not classical positioning of feet, but we'll get there. We'll get to the classical position. This is how you might start. If I have my left foot near the left side of the mat, right knee, right foot somewhere closer to the right side, and I straighten the leg. The first thing to note is if you press your left hip to the left, it's going to tighten the inner thigh. If I press my hips to the right, it's going to tighten the outer thigh. So to open the legs, I want to make sure I'm not tightening the inner thigh. And I'm briefly digressing, if I do tighten the inner thigh by kicking the hip out to the side, what happens, the inner thighs get stronger, the knees come up, and now it throws the spine off. So when we're doing these poses, we want to avoid letting the hip kick out to the side, letting the knee come to the inside, which will also stress the knee. This is the most vulnerable portion of the knee, and never want to stretch. Medial collateral ligament, the ligament on the inside of the knee, never want to stretch that. No point in doing it. There might be circumstances, but for a beginner, definitely not. So as I'm in this position, my shin is vertical. Now I'm on a yoga mat. If I'm on a yoga mat and I push with my toes, then the muscles won't develop well. So what we do to avoid pressing with the toes and getting into the wrong muscles of the hip, which will make the pose, will keep your pose rigid. It won't allow you to open up. If I push through my toes on the yoga mat, then inappropriate muscles turn on. If I press through the heel and lift the foot, then just the upper quadricep turns on, hamstring lets go, hip begins to bend. You feel the stretch in the gluteal muscle. Gluteal muscles, very, very resistant to any kind of injury. They're very strong. So, also I want to lengthen my spine. So if I have my shoulder behind my knee, then the left side of my spine is compressed. See what that looks like. As I'm in this position, if I put my hand here, I've shortened my spine. If I take the underarm in front of the knee and pull, now I've lengthened the distance from shoulder to hip. And you'll start finding that what will happen if you do that is the quadricep turns on, the hip lets go, forward bend improves. So this is how we're working in this pose. So again, underarm in front of the knee, shin vertical, hips pressing to the right. Now how do I press my hips to the right? So as I'm in this position, I now lift the front of my foot. I can already feel the quadricep working. My back heel is sliding away from the front knee vertical. Right arm alongside the head, properly positioned to keep the neck open. And then I might take that left arm up, still trying to reach the shoulder in front of the knee, turning to the side. And I get very strong contractions in the top of that left thigh. So when I check a forward bend, you'll find that if I come into a forward bend with my feet evenly placed, it's a little freer on one side. I can do a similar position where there's a twist. Left knee up, right elbow comes to the outside of the left leg. Now it's important that left upper thigh stays down. If I just put my thumb over, I can't express much strength. So what I try to do is take the entire palm and push down. When my elbow reaches to the outside, then I just simply pull with the elbow. And that allows me to begin to twist into this pose. Straighten the back leg. The back heel slides away from the front foot. Now I'm not going to lift my foot up in front. It's a little awkward for people in this position. But what you can do as you're in this position is make sure that the knee stays vertically over the heel. Twisting into this pose. The right thigh turns out. Right gluteal muscle, right hip turns on, so the hips move slightly to the right. And this becomes a basic standing pose. In that twisting pose, the back foot is down. So if we look from another angle, often this pose is taught with the back foot up. But then your hips don't open up if you do that. So again, if I put my hand on the upper thigh, twisting to the side, back heel rotates down onto the floor, back thigh rotates out, back hip turns on to move the hips from the left, which will tighten my inner thigh if I do that, left inner thigh, and move the hips to the right. So this becomes a basic twisting extended side angle pose. That's it.